Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I am really excited to share my conversation today. I have a really amazing entrepreneur with a really cool product that I've tried, and it's, I think, revolutionizing, the sweetener industry. I'll just say that. Emily Josenhans is the founder of Domaine Santé, which is based here in San Diego. She has been dedicated to making people healthier for over the last 10 years. We're going to dive into her background, which is in nutritional counseling. And she really found sugar was her client's biggest struggle. And this sugar has been such a hot topic in, health news and nutrition for the last few years. It's like people are saying it's the evil of all evils as it relates to nutrition and body weight and things of that nature. She wanted to bring something to the market that people could feel really good about when they were sweetening their foods. Obviously sugar, again, the evil product, has been hindering people's health, which, there are other alternatives on the market, but those have also been known to be harmful to people. So she is taking something that is totally natural, which is California grape nectar, and we're going to learn about that. And she's made this into a sweetener and a, alternative to sugar, if you will. So, Emily, welcome to the show and take us back. Tell us about your background. Where are you from? Take us along your career path. What did you study? And then we'll talk about the launch of this business.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me this morning. So basically, nutrition was my passion in college. I got my degree in nutrition, and it's obviously an entire lifestyle focus for myself as well as all my clients I've worked with over the last 10 years. But when you're talking about sugar, people love their sweets. So they don't want to cut out sugar. They don't want to follow a strict diet. They don't want to deprive themselves. And it is such an addictive food, but I think, which is something I've preached in my practice for the last 10 years, is that, balance and moderation and finding that product that works right for you is really, a way to deal with the sugar crisis and the epidemic. I saw my clients choosing all types of different things, from, you have your 0-calorie sweeteners like stevia, these things you can't even pronounce, xylitol, but these aren't really adding anything to people's lives. They're not doing anything that's bringing them better health, and really they're products that mess with your metabolism. They do all these crazy things that aren't known. And so I wanted something that was different, something that actually added to people's health instead of, took away from it or hindered it, or like you were saying, caused chronic disease or weight gain or, premature aging even. Wrinkles. Sugar causes wrinkles, if you didn't know that.
No,
so,
say it isn't so.
I know. It's terrible. It's just terrible. So,
oh my gosh. And it's in everything, right? I mean, it's
exactly.
It's like hidden that, I've been reading about this a little bit, and it's in the things you don't even think about, like bread.
Right. I mean, literally almost anything that comes in a package, there's added sugar to it. So you have to be pretty much like a detective looking at every label. It's insane. Yeah. So, I knew there had to be.
I want to pause on this real quick because, not to get too into the history of sugar necessarily, but, obviously we've grown to like sweet things. Is it we've grown because it's just been added to these products? And why did they start adding sugar to everything to begin with?
Well, it's definitely a cheap way to add flavor. I think it's, kind of an industry way to, make food taste better without actually adding nutritious components to them, which is unfortunate. I mean, I definitely would say the food industry is evolving as a whole, and I hope that that's not the case in 10 or 20 years and for, our children's sake and grandchildren's sake. But I think that, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, that sugar isn't added to the majority of big manufactured foods. Definitely the smaller guys are doing something right, but in terms of, the main food industry, I think it has a long way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, it's cheap. They can add it. It's easy. People, have grown to, enjoy the taste of it without even knowing they are. So,
exactly.
And before we dive into your product and how you discovered this and the whole process, you touched on this, these alternative sugar products, right? So I don't know if it was back in the 80s or when it was, but, folks started to say, well, sugar is bad. Let's use, this sweetener instead. I mean, the ones we always see are the pink and yellow and blue packets, right, that people put in their coffee. So can you talk a little bit about those products and what those types of things do to you as opposed to using sugar?
Well, I mean, you were talking about the packets. The blue packet literally is known to cause cancer now. So that's definitely one to stay away from. And, people, it's funny, they have such a correlation with the colors and, they think, oh, I don't take sugar, but then they're taking these sugar derivatives, these chemical derivatives that are even worse for them than regular sugar. So it's really, I think the stevias and the truvias and these sort of 0 calorie sweeteners that are around now, they're at least not known to cause cancer, but they're also, they're inhibiting metabolism. There's definitely, I don't think, enough research to really show the long-term effects of some of these newer options. And then also, why would you want something that tastes like stevia? It's just, for me, I can't handle the taste.
Yeah. Yeah, my goodness. So there's alternatives out there. So you were a nutritionist for 10 years. You saw the effects of this. How did you come up with this company, this product?
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely saw the market and the natural alternatives, honey being probably one of the best options, but even unfortunately that has actually a higher content than regular sugar. And also it's somewhat high in the glycemic index. So, in moderation, I would recommend that to my clients. But, I went on like this wild goose hunt for something that was better and something that, people could just feel good about choosing. And it really wasn't until I brought this pain to my husband, and he's in the food and beverage industry. He's been an innovator for over 20 years. And he brought up something that we actually have a shared passion for, which is wine. And, everyone knows the health benefits of wine. It's, you hear if you're going to have some sort of alcoholic beverage, have a glass of red wine. So, being a scientist and a nutritionist, I looked further into this, and wine grapes are incredible. I mean, they're one of the most nutritious fruits. They're loaded with antioxidants. They have tons of vitamins, minerals. I mean, they're like little magical fruit gems. So I thought, why not wine grapes? Literally, that's kind of how it all started. So we
had anybody explored this before, Emily?
There's a couple like wine type like jelly products I've seen, where they're using the wine grape to sweeten instead of like pectin and that sort of thing. But no real actual sweetener from wine grapes, no.
Wow. Okay. So how does this work? You come up with this idea, and then what?
Yeah. So, what was important to me was really preserving those antioxidant levels in the wine grapes. So we use a low heat process to actually process the grapes versus a lot of other sweeteners like maple syrup and agave, where they're boiling for hours down the concentrated liquid to get their product. So we wanted those antioxidant levels to really stay high. So we made sure in our processing that those levels are being maintained. And once we had the final product available, we were like, well, are people even going to like this? Are they even going to use this? So we actually brought the product to, friends in the food and beverage industry, and I started bringing it to farmers markets, and we found that, across the board, people loved it. They absolutely loved the flavor. And then it was like you told them the health benefits and they were just amazed. So it was a really awesome experience. I mean, I'm still shocked, how excited people get about the product. It's amazing once people get the opportunity to try it.
That's awesome. I love it. Now you founded this company close to 4 years ago. Is that right?
About 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're making this product in your kitchen, or were you using a commercial space or commercial kitchen to do this?
Yes, we've been using a commercial kitchen in San Diego for the last couple years. We're actually looking to scale quite a bit right now and move to contract manufacturing. So
Great.
we want to get this product to more people. We've grown a pretty solid following here in the West Coast region, and we want to reach more people and offer this product to more people.
Awesome. So I do want to go back, though. You talked about going to farmers markets and friends and family. What was that moment you knew? I mean, I'm assuming you started in your kitchen initially, kind of mixing things before you stepped into a commercial kitchen. What was that point, Emily? Can you think back to that moment, if you can, that you realize, like, okay, this is going to be something big and we're going to go for it?
Well, I mean, it's hard to really pinpoint the moment. I mean, my husband has some pretty incredible industry connections, and it was kind of the validation of seeing like these really skilled people that work with new products on a daily basis really get excited about the product the same way we did. I think that for me was, I've always held the food and beverage industry as a very aspirational place for products, and you turn to these professionals for their expertise and their opinions and their palate, really, and seeing them love the products, and then of course seeing customers directly and interacting with customers at the farmers market continuously just rave about Grape Nectar. I was pretty sold. I knew if I could sell it to chefs and also, my colleagues and my community, I felt like we had something special going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about, Emily, if you would, on the, kind of the business side of this. What is protectable about this? Is there any kind of patent you were able to get, or how does that all work?
Well, with food, unfortunately, you can't obtain patents. It's considered like a recipe, basically, and that can be trademarked, and the brand can be trademarked, and things can be copyrighted, but we aren't able to have a patent. Our blends are proprietary, so we do have that protection in terms of our IP. But we are really all about advocating to the consumer and really growing our brand organically and our following organically, and I think that really that's so important to the consumer now, to that transparency and where your food's coming from. So I definitely think we have values that align with the movement of food, kind of like we were talking about earlier, that I think really resonate with the consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk about the product and how people are using it.
Right. I mean, it's pretty versatile. We see people, as simply as drizzling it over the morning yogurt or putting it in tea and coffee. That's one of my favorite ways. Or even, to replace sugar in recipes or baked goods. We have a pretty extensive recipe blog that we've developed, and we've also worked with other chefs and other foodies have helped us develop on our website. But then we see the most intricate cocktails and some really fun bars. They're using it as well, and it's incredible. I mean, if anything you could imagine, I've seen people use grape nectar with.
That's awesome. And our listeners obviously can't see the product, so describe the packaging. It's a liquid, but talk about the packaging. Are there different flavors? Anything related to that?
Right. Yeah. So we do a liquid version right now. There are definitely intentions to expand the line. But right now we offer like a liquid product that's kind of similar to like a syrup in texture and viscosity. And we do 3 different blends, and they're all based on different French wine regions. So they have, like if you were to have, for example, our Bordeaux Blanc, it has Sauvignon Blanc grapes. So if you can imagine that wine, it has like a nice crisp flavor, bright acidity. So the grape nectar itself, it's just purely made from the grapes. So it also has those characteristics, and, really interesting like essence and flavors just from the grape itself. So we have that was our original blend, our Bordeaux Blanc. And then we also do a red version of that, which seems to be most people's favorite. It's very bold and intense in flavor, and like almost like a liquid jam. And then we also have a Riesling blend. That's my favorite, and that's the one I use in like tea and coffee. It's really like nice and floral and bright.
Awesome. Any plans to do a non-liquid product down the line?
Definitely. I mean, we want those sugar packets off the table, and we want something better on the table for the customer to choose and really enjoy. And for me, that was one of my biggest points with grape nectar, was that I obviously health is definitely a priority, but I also wanted something that people actually enjoyed having every day and putting in their coffee. I mean, think of how much coffee people drink in a week. you want to, if you're gonna have a little sweetness, you definitely want to enjoy it and feel good about what you're putting in your cup.
Yeah, and it's as I like to say, it's sort of a dramatic statement, but it's your habits that kill you, right? It's the things you eat and drink every day. Having a piece of chocolate cake once in a while isn't going to kill you, but it's those daily decisions we make. So that's fantastic.
Exactly. It all adds up.
Yeah. Emily, just for folks that are listening, because we get, within the Hera Hub community and the startup community in San Diego, we have a lot of awesome makers, people who, have developed a product like yourself. And it sounds like, you've had some, ties into the industry already through your husband, which is obviously, I'm sure has been helpful. But for somebody who maybe doesn't have any ties into the industry, what's your advice to them if they're making, I don't know, jam or peanut butter or, name it, for them to get traction in the market beyond just going to the farmers market?
Right. That's a great question. Well, I think really, for me, what's taken me kind of towards the next level is my network. When you're starting out on your own, it can be pretty scary, and, you question every decision, and, you're not sure about a lot of things. But I think, really reaching out to people that are in your same boat, that are maybe at the same point you're at, or, if there's someone you admire, or someone that is, a little further along than you, I think really just my relationships have really steered a lot of my direction. I'm currently going through the accelerator program with Ad Astra, and I never would have found that had I not reached out to, colleagues that had been through, that I didn't even realize that had been through the program, and it's made such an impact on their lives, so, and their businesses. So I think it's really, you definitely don't know much when you're starting out. So I think just really utilizing all of your resources, and especially for founders here in San Diego, I mean, I would definitely agree. There's an incredible amount of resources, and even free resources. The San Diego Women's Center and the Business Center, that's something I've turned to. You guys at Hera offer an incredible amount of resources, literally available every single day at the offices. So that's my team has definitely been able to utilize that. So I mean, I just can't stress enough, the sooner you build your network, I think it all kind of pieces together.
Yeah. Oh, that's great advice. Just get out there, talk to people, ask questions. Don't do it alone.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, what is on the horizon for Domaine Santé?
So we have been kind of, as I mentioned, pretty focused in the food and beverage industry, and kind of like the healthy foodie. But, my ultimate goal has always been to get back to, that everyday consumer, and really focus on them, and how I can enhance their lives. And so we're actually in the process of developing an entire new line that really just speaks to them and their needs, and, is just really approachable for the young mom, or someone, just really trying to cut sugar out and choose something healthier. So, we have a whole new line launching probably around the end of the year. So I'm really excited about that.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. And if our listeners want to actually buy your product, what's the best way for them to do that, and also, get in touch with you or the company?
Absolutely. So our booth is at the Farmers Market in Little Italy every Saturday morning, 8 to 2 p.m. And then also our website, we have everything available, lots of resources and information, domaine Santé, SANTE.com. And feel free to message us there too. We have a message feature, and, we'd love to be in touch.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Emily. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, Felina. Great to speak with you.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.